I'm straight up just saying we should not have women in combat roles.
Just get rid of the UN. Just get rid of it. It is a poisoned body. It is an anti-American, anti-Israel, anti-Semitic institution. AIPAC also is not an extreme right-wing pro-Israel group. This is the group that plays it down the middle as best they can, trying to create a bipartisan consensus of Republicans and Democrats. If you won't go to AIPAC, you are at some level anti-Israel or maybe anti-Semitic.
I don't think I've washed my hands for 10 years. Really, I don't really wash my hands ever.
Help me.
No, I inoculate myself.
Donald Trump took the nation by surprise when he chose Fox host and veteran Pete Hegseth as his Secretary of Defense. Now, given Hegseth's long on-air career, he has a pretty long history of saying some inflammatory and sometimes just plain weird comments like the ones that you just saw. So there's even more where that came from. So let's get to know Pete Hegseth a little better. So in the montage that you just are, or actually that you're about to watch, you'll see Hegseth defend Blackwater contractors found guilty of killing Iraqi civilians on purpose, call for a preemptive strike against North Korea. Preemptive strike like the one we did in Iraq, which worked out real well, didn't it? Call for striking cultural sites in Iran, criticize veterans who apply for all of the benefits that they have earned by risking their lives in serving the country, and defend family separations because the children get soccer and play video games. Okay, I just want to remind you all of a story that we did earlier this week indicating that upward of 1,400 children who were separated from their parents at the border during the early years of the Trump administration have yet to be reunited with their family members because the Trump administration didn't keep track of their parents, and the children have not been able to get in touch with them. With that in mind, let's take a look at the compilation.
Back in 2007, 4 Blackwater contractors were tasked with defending American diplomats at the height of the Iraq War. Remember, 2007, dangerous times. The men were found guilty of killing Iraqi civilians, but they maintained their innocence, saying they were ambushed. Another day on the job in Iraq. I was in Iraq 05-06. Encountered situations just like this. Split-second decisions, violence happened fast, enemy using nasty tactics. There's merit in a preemptive strike. If you got to do it right, it's got to be decisive. How comprehensive is that first strike capability? But history shows us that when you let dictators get the worst weapons in the world, they wield a ton of influence. And what about the history in North Korea has shown us that they're ever going to stop. If we're going to fight to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear bomb, this regime, then we need to rewrite the rules that are advantageous to us. I don't want to hit cultural sites on purpose, but if you're using one to harbor your most dangerous weapons, then that should be on the target list. And the president. So we're saying because we're enforcing laws on the books, temporarily separating kids from their parents who broke the law, by the way, by coming here illegally. And then while these kids are in temporary custody, they're getting school and soccer and video games and 3 squares and 2 snacks and plenty of sleep and lots of good. That's the same as exterminating 1.1 million Jews in gas chambers?
I mean, like recycling Israeli government talking points about how the children deserved it, or whitewashing the experience that the children are actually experiencing. It's just not my favorite kind of person, okay? Absolutely disgusting rhetoric there, but doesn't give me a lot of hope, especially as someone who would serve in an incredibly important role as Secretary of Defense. But John, a lot of Republicans are supportive of this move. They argue, he's an American hero. He's a veteran, he served this country, and he's definitely qualified for the role. What say you?
He is a veteran, and I think it's interesting that they're pretending that is apparently the only qualification you need. Apparently then there are literally millions of people who at any moment could serve as Secretary of Defense of this country because we have a lot of veterans, because we have a big military. Maybe I'm a coastal elite, but I think we should require more. I think that one of the things that's most distressing, not just about the Hegseth thing, but Tulsi Gabbard and Gates, these are not like small little bureaucracies that don't really matter. You give it away as like a political thing. These are like core, crucial positions that demand expertise. he's been a pundit for 10 years. That's what he's done. And he doesn't seem like one of the clever ones, by the way. He never has. He seems like a guy who shares right-wing talking points and seems to really believe them. He's got he honestly seems dimmer than like a Jesse Waters. Like there's none of like the crafty grifting. He just seems like he used to be like a frat boy and then he joined the military and now he like wants his taxes low and that's pretty much it. That's what it seems like.
Yep.
And MAGA's ready to gamble the security of America on that. And with Kristi Noem and with Tulsi Gabbard, people who should not be anywhere near these positions, they're I guess gambling that it's not gonna matter, that it's fine. The war on expertise and knowledge that the right has been waging for literally decades has now reached the highest tiers of government. And now we all just have to wait and see, will there be some sort of massive terror attack that we might have caught, but now we won't because there's nobody in charge? I don't know. Will we be prepared for the conflicts of the future? I don't know. We got the axe throwing, no hand washing guy in charge. I'm a little bit worried, Anna.
Yeah, look, I'm worried too. I don't think Tulsi Gabbard is the best pick, right? But even though I personally do not like her, I can at least acknowledge that she seems competent, right? Like I'm less worried about Tulsi Gabbard. I'm way more worried about the person who has been chosen as Secretary of Defense under Donald Trump at a time when the United States has created all sorts of enemies on the international stage. Okay, in our unending, unwavering commitment to Israel and the slaughter that they're carrying out right now in Lebanon, in Gaza, in the West Bank, we have made a lot of enemies. And I am concerned if these individuals are not competent, are they gonna be able to protect Americans on US soil from a potential attack? And I'm not saying this to scare people. It's a genuine fear that I have. I don't know. And so some people are like, this is great, we're getting outsiders in there. And I have no problem with outsiders. If there's some indication that these individuals are equipped with the skills and the know-how necessary to do the job effectively. And I just don't know if that's the case with Pete Hegseth. In fact, it looks like a bunch of US senators don't even know who he is. Like Senator Bill Cassidy was asked about Donald Trump choosing Hegseth as his Secretary of Defense, and he responded with, who? Senator Lisa Murkowski was similarly befuddled, stating, wow, I'm just surprised because the names that I've heard for Secretary of Defense have not included him. Well, looks like you had bad intel. And Senator Tommy Tuberville says, really? I'd have to think about it. So look, I don't know what the confirmation process is gonna look like for Hegseth. I do think that more likely than not, most Republicans are gonna fall in line and approve Donald Trump's appointments. I could be surprised by the outcome, who knows? But I am worried about national security, literally for the first time ever.
Yeah, I honestly, like to some extent, I know that like the goal is to utterly shred basically all of these departments and make government incapable of functioning, and maybe this will accomplish that end. But I would honestly say like, to the extent that there's like a deep state in the intelligence community, honestly, they might even kind of like a Tulsi Gabbard being in charge. I am way more concerned about, like she has no experience in anything like this. I also think that she's shown herself to be willingly duped by all sorts of foreign policy related conspiracy theories over the last few years. Will that be official policy? I don't know. But like her, especially Pete Hegseth, maybe Noem too, like they seem so ill-equipped in terms of experience, temperament, level of intelligence, that honestly, it might allow the career officials to sort of just go about their lives more, because how is Hegseth gonna manage a massive bureaucracy like that? He can barely manage his own personal hygiene. And so maybe things will just sort of continue the way they were because he's just not a person with the breadth of knowledge, the depth of knowledge to actually get in there and really shake things up.
Yeah, I guess we're about to find out. Just a few more details about Hegseth. He's best known again for his time at Fox News, where he's worked for the past decade, but also he has tried and failed to run for the United States Senate. That was back in 2012. He served as the head of the Koch brothers funded Concerned Veterans for America. And apparently he nearly served in Trump's first cabinet. Trump was considering him for the Department of Veterans Affairs. Unclear as to why that did not come to fruition. But he was rewarded for Trump's upcoming administration with one of the most important roles in the federal government. So we'll see how he'll be treated by senators, whether he'll be confirmed. And if he is confirmed, buckle up. We'll see what his leadership looks like. Any final words on this, Sean?
Yeah, I would say, like, if someone is trying to figure out why go with Hegseth, and these Republican senators seem confused, why would you? It is very simple. Because Donald Trump watches Fox and Friends.
Yeah.
That's why he picked. Every one of these people, coincidentally, are just toadies in his inner circle. And I guess they're all also the most qualified for the positions. He just chose people that hang around him. That's it for all of the people who campaigned with him, the people who say nice things to him through his TV screen. That's what he chose. It's DEI for Trump buds. That's all it is. He did not go for expertise this time. He went for just, they've never questioned me. I doubt they ever will. That's who gets the job.
Yeah, it's like it's Trump's like buddy program for the executive branch.
And one final thing, there was a comment to this extent. Obviously, Donald Trump would have spoken with a Gabbard, with a Noam, with him before giving them this position. I don't think any of us can conceive of how explicit the need for loyalty would be, and what these people promised to Donald Trump to get these positions over other people who would also be willing to pledge loyalty. How deferential did they promise him they would be to get positions that they are in no way qualified for?
Yeah.
You remember how critical we were of Pete Buttigieg getting transportation back in 2020 because he had no experience in that area?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now put that across every position. Way bigger bureaucracies, by the way, than transportation.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Usually the ambassador roles are the little gifts and giveaways to donors and friends of the president-elect, but no, Trump is doing this with really important roles, and national security isn't a joke. I think we tend to take it for granted when we're led by competent people. I don't know, maybe Pete Hegseth will surprise us, but there's no indication, like there's nothing that I can like latch onto with his history that gives me a little bit of ease in knowing that he could be confirmed as the Secretary of Defense. And again, incredibly important role, especially at a time when the US is involved in conflicts abroad and could ramp up a potential war with Iran. So I am worried about that. We'll see what happens. Don't want to scare you all too much about it.
Thanks for watching. If you become a member, you get to watch all this ad-free, except for, of course, this ad. Still, hit the join button below.